You're listening to the Behind the Whistles podcast with Des Roach and Steve Conroy in association with Roxburgh Group. If you need insurance, Roxburgh have you covered.
Welcome, folks, to our latest episode of Behind the Whistles. I'm Scott McPike. It's a pleasure to step in and be the host for this week. I'm delighted to go. I'm always a big fan of the podcast. It's a pleasure to be on the podcast chatting to, first of all, Steve Conroy.
Hello. Glad you're on, Scott.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to this, and it's a pleasure to be. I've been on a podcast before with Des. It's a pleasure to welcome Des Roach.
That's good, Steve. Sorry, Scott. That's good to be back to saying Steve. I talked to him too much.
Obviously, we're just finished. Obviously, we're recording this right after the Rangers Hearts game, and obviously, probably a quiet weekend in terms of kind of decisions. I wouldn't say there was a lot of big kind of game-changing decisions. There's maybe a couple we can get into. Steve, obviously, I'll start with you here. We'll probably start, obviously, on Saturday. Probably the game that caught the most attention would be Hibs against St Mirren. I do have a lot of sympathy for David Gray in terms of the kind of card he's been dealt. I think the problems at Hibs are far beyond him. But looking at the kind of situation in Saturday, obviously the result was bad. Probably like a missed penalty, 3 penalty claims, and a disallowed goal. In terms of the kind of one, 2 were given, 2 were probably should have been given. The one that I wanted to ask about was the Levitt shot that went to VAR and it was not given as a potential handball. What was your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was a strange day altogether. There was that many things going on at Hibs. I think probably okay with that one. As we've said before, that they change things so much. They change it from week to week that you really have got no idea what handball really is anymore. We should go back. We keep harking back to the good old days where it was Des or I that thought it was deliberate. End of story. That's it. What constitutes a proper in inverted commas handball now? I really don't know. But I don't have much of an issue with how that one was called this time. I don't know if Des is any different, but I don't have particular issues with that one.
Des, what did you think? Because obviously, there's one later on where Newell strikes the hand of Gogic. Now, I think Gogic isn't quite. I don't know. You'll obviously know far better than me, but Gogic, I don't see as facing that direction. So I don't know what he's doing with his hand. I don't see the difference between the one that wasn't given and the one that was given. Is that just me maybe not having the kind of knowledge that you guys have? Because that's something I've kind of wanted to explain. The way the handball works, why is one a penalty and one isn't?
It's not at all. It's not at all, Scott. We've always said is handball has to be a deliberate action. So for Gogic, he doesn't know. He's got no idea where the ball is. We've always went down, and certainly I've been banging the drum for long enough. If you're making your hand unnaturally bigger or your body unnaturally bigger, yes, absolutely. But you've got to look at the proximity that the ball's hit at you. What opportunity do you have to get out the road of that striking you? So the Gogic one, yeah, absolutely not. I'm totally adamant on that. And my Paisley Faring friends that I work with, they'll be happy with that as well. But again with Steve, I'm okay with the other one. I'm not too perturbed about that.
But we'll say one small caveat to that is exactly as Des said. The way handball's working just now, it's we keep saying all you need to do, and Des or I, you as well, Scott, get to the edge of the box and just blow to the ball and see what happens.
Yeah.
It removes so much skill and precision in a game of football. All you do is just lump the ball and see what happens. It's an utter nonsense. And with me saying that I'm okay with one and another one shouldn't be a handball, in the real world, neither of them should be a penalty. It's a nonsense. It should be pure and simple, down to whether you think it's deliberate or not. Inventing things like the T-shirt line, and are you making yourself unnaturally big? Are you making yourself, out of all mechanical possibilities for that event that you're in. Nonsense, absolute nonsense. It's whether it's deliberate or not, and neither of them should be penalties. But in this current climate, one isn't and one, could be. It's a nonsense.
Is it the same?
Blitter the ball. That's all you've ever done at 5, Steve.
Yeah.
I still do it. Aye, absolutely.
Is it the same as the shot pulling one? Because I know, like, speaking to a lot of people, kind of from the kind of side, from the kind of media side of it, they don't know. Like, there's games I've watched today. There's 2 games I've watched today where shot pulling's been going on all game, but I'm seeing shot pulling been given in certain games. Like, I don't know what the rule is now. Has it changed? Because last season, like, I know a lot of games I watched, there was shot pulling been given most games, and now I'm hardly seeing it. But has that been changed?
I think that shot pulling has become the new handball.
Yeah,
that seems to be the one that the road they're going down this season. I don't know if Willie that's his intention, or that's his trying to be his stamp on it. But I see shot pulling now being the thing that's most, what would you say, most light shone upon.
Aye. And probably the most contentious, exactly as you say, Scott. The thing is, when you've got humans involved, you will never have 100% consistency.
Yeah.
Des's shot pull-ometer is set differently from mine. It's set differently from yours. So it's totally, completely subjective. But the howlers should always be given. And when the howlers are given, they should be cautioned. And there should be some sort of consistency. But I agree with you, sometimes it's not. But everything's contextual, I suppose. So it's been highlighted, and there's a lot more going on about it, but sometimes there is no way of having 100% consistency. There just isn't. And something that you see today will be different from next week, will be different from last week. We're all different. Everything, changes from incident to incident. So I don't have too much of a problem with that. Although I get that people can be frustrated that the thing that their team got this week they didn't get last week. But sometimes you just have to accept it's subjective.
On to the game at Firth Park, obviously Motherwell 2, St Johnstone 1. Simo Valakari returning to Firth Park. I think the first time in 24 years. Couple of incidents, obviously. Des Motherwell obviously got a penalty through a handball. St Johnstone get the penalty for Halliday handball. It was obviously well converted, and then later on, obviously Nicky Clark scored the goal, and then St Johnstone had an equaliser disallowed. The ball come off Sanders' arm. What did you kind of think of the decisions there?
He'll probably like me. I used to teach Andrew Halliday. I know him well.
Did you?
I did, yes.
Oh, you old git.
I'm not as old as you.
Fair.
I taught Andrew, Andy's brother Robbie. In fact, I worked with Robbie at Open Goal for a wee while taking the under 20s team, helping there. But yes, I do not think the penalty should have been given against Andrew Halliday for that. We just said the proximity. What is he meant to do? The ball's just been, as you would use, blittered off him from a couple of yards. So no, I don't think that's. I don't understand how Andrew could be expected to avoid it. The Sanders goal, it came off his arm. You cannot score a goal with your arm. So it was it who was it? Was it Duke?
It was the one at Parkhead,
yeah. You can't score a goal with your arm. So I think they got that one correct. Don't think it was Ross Hardy who was the referee at that game. So Ross got it correct. Yes, you can't score. But I do think the penalty against Motherwell was extremely harsh. Steve, do you go along with that?
I go along with the handball. You just can't score with your hand. No issue. I'm slightly coming at the Halliday penalty slightly differently. I'm on the fence totally. Whether
can it be on the fence?
Whether you give it or whether you don't, right? Hear me out. Everything's a sliding scale. So you go from your arm straight up unless you're Connor Goldson, your arm straight up where it's a penalty until your arm down by your side where it's not a penalty, right? And those are the extremes. But when you get in the middle, there's a grey area. I think that the Halliday one was kind of in the grey area. So I wouldn't have an argument whether you gave it or whether you didn't. My huge bugbear is that is a matter of opinion. And according to the laws of the game, the only opinion that matters is the opinion of the referee. Everything is in the opinion of the referee. So when it comes down to a matter of opinion, VAR has no place in it. So nobody is disputing that the ball came off Halliday. Nobody's disputing that. But it's up to Ross whether he thinks that meets the criteria for a handball these days. It's not up to anybody else. So VAR, and Ross is still relatively new at this level. So maybe he just doesn't have the strength or the confidence yet to go to the monitor and go, nah.
But that's what I was going to ask, sorry. See if he does do that. See if he does, and this is the kind of big problem I've got with VAR is, and this is more a kind of problem with commentators than I have with anything else. When they say they're going to the monitor, we know what that means. Why are they saying that? As if the referee can't keep these decisions. Because if you're a referee, if you're in any form of life, you don't want to be proven wrong. So why is it always seeming as if going to the monitor means the decision automatically changes? Now, I've seen it a couple of times where I think I recall, was it the Sterling red card maybe last season where the referee stuck to his gun, and fair play to him, and then it obviously got overturned, but he stuck to his decision. Why is it that referees seem to be going over to the monitor with the perception that it needs to be changed?
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, but the assumption is that they've got a better view and a repeated view of it. So that's why if you're getting called over, you're assuming that you've just seen something or misinterpreted something. So it shouldn't automatically. Well, do you know? Can I talk myself out of it? Sometimes it should be automatic because VAR should only be involved. And here's the mantra: if there's a clear and obvious error. So the assumption, if VAR gets you over, is that you've missed a clear and obvious error. That's the assumption.
She didn't, because
no.
It's entirely down to opinion.
A matter of opinion. So VAR shouldn't be involved in it.
So could you imagine?
But the ref is getting called over to the monitor because, as we're all saying, there has been a clear and obvious error.
And it's not.
And there's not. So
could you imagine in that game, if it was you or I, and I'm saying to you through your ear, Steve, I want you to come and have a look at it. I could guarantee you, as soon as you looked at it, you'd give me a 2-word answer.
Aye. But, do you know, and that's, and we can say these things totally quite glibly because we're not involved. Well. Yeah. But we had enough confidence in each other. And that's in reverse. You'd be more than happy to tell me to beat it. But I think it's a different working environment now. Aye, it's a different working environment. But I have utter confidence. I've not got an awful lot of confidence in a lot that you do, Des, but I have absolutely no doubt at all that you would not have got me over to look at a monitor for a matter of opinion.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, so like that's kind of the thing with VAR that's kind of most intriguing me. Like you've kind of answered it there. It seems as if referees are kind of duty bound to give the decision the way VAR tells them to, which again is obviously something that might be kind of misconstrued. But that again, like that has cleared it up for me. Like, obviously, using the outside user looking at it from a kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe looking at it from a like by the book consensus, where user like looking at it from like, why would you give that? Why is it? Mm-hmm. Why is looking at it? Why are you duty bound to give that? Where you're not. You're just saying that you wouldn't have done that. No. So that kind of explains.
And Scott, see what's happening there, and this is the reason VAR, one of the reasons VAR came out with is it's not there to re-referee a game, and that's clearly what happened there.
Yeah. Yeah. On to Dundee United 3, Ross County nil. Nothing really of note in terms of decisions, but I want to kind of get your thoughts on the kind of start Dundee United have had. Des, I really have been impressed with the way they've kind of went about their start. Kind of from where I remember being at Darvel Aberdeen 2.5 years ago, and Jim Goodwin's reputation was pretty much done and dusted. And to see now where he's at, new contract in Dundee United, sitting in a really healthy position. Top six is not out of reach for them. You've got to hand it to Jim Goodwin for the start they've had.
He's absolutely turned around his career. It's fantastic to see. I think also the Darvel game was as much, it was the high of the highs for Darvel. It was the lowest of the low for Jim Goodwin in Aberdeen. So I'm delighted. I just want to see people succeed in what they do and have success. So no, absolutely delighted, and it's great. Dundee United should be looking to be in the top six. Dundee United are a massive club. Dundee United should be in the top six. They should be challenging for European places. They should be right in amongst it. So yeah, absolutely fantastic to Jim Goodwin and Lee Sharp. All the very best, and I hope they continue to strive and go forward.
Yep. Absolutely. Next game, obviously on 5:30 on Saturday. Aberdeen bounced back after the pretty dire game at Hampden last week. 4-1 win over Dundee. Dundee obviously had a penalty in the first half. Steve, any complaints with the penalty?
Oh, none whatsoever, other than thinking, what the hell was the player doing? You sometimes, we're talking earlier on about shirt pulls and things. Why is it so common? Why do players all grab at people's shirts? But sometimes it's just so blatant it takes it out of your hands. So no complaints whatsoever.
And then obviously well saved by Mitov, but Aberdeen kind of click into gear after half time. 4 really well taken goals. Palaversa, Keskinen, Bezigin, and Nisbet with the goals. And Steve, Aberdeen obviously, like, I don't think there was I think that it was one of those games last weekend where Celtic just ripped them apart. But to bounce back from that, it's a massive, massive boost for them again.
Oh, absolutely, and that shows you where they're at just now, physically and mentally. They can get an absolute slaughtering one week, but come back the next week and give, relatively, no offence to Dundee, they give them a relative slaughtering. Aberdeen are chalk and cheese to what they were last season.
Yeah.
It's a revelation. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, Aberdeen keep the form going. On to Sunday's games. We'll start with Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 2. Celtic obviously flying after a massive result in the Champions League. And Des, I think it showed just in terms, I thought they looked very leggy. And they did obviously, like Kilmarnock, I think, probably similar to the game we'll talk about after that. Kilmarnock had chances, just didn't take them, but Celtic were clinical, and that boy Kuhn again, just a marvellous, marvellous season he's had so far.
I think he's actually been a revelation for Celtic this year. I was watching the game. I thought it was a bit turgid, as you said, leggy. I think if Marley Watkins, the one that the opportunity he had, if that went in, it would have been an entirely different game. The big one for me was watching Alistair Johnson. I mean, when does Alistair Johnson ever look tired? And that's the first time I've ever seen him look tired in the game. Not overly much. Nick controlled the game. I thought he was sometimes a wee bit pedantic with a couple of things and the way he spoke to people. But no, Celtic get the job done, and that's what they do. They go and they get the 3 points up the road. The players need a rest. You can see the effects that the constant midweek games are having with them. But yeah, nothing. Job done. Down. Get the 3 points. Back up the road.
There was one incident, Steve, and it was kind of later on in the game. It was round about the kind of 80th minute. There was a. What do we think about the challenge? Hatate gets booked for it. It's hard to describe. You would probably need to see it to understand what it is. Hatate looks to get him, studs up, catches the Kilmarnock player. I can't remember who the Kilmarnock player is. It is a booking. VAR obviously take a bit of time to look into it. It's the referee is told just carry on. What did you think?
There's a couple of aspects to it. Again, my bugbear with VAR is it's meant to be a clear and obvious error. So if you get called to VAR, if it's clear and obvious, you need one or two looks at it, and then it's over and done with. If it takes any more than that, it's not clear and obvious. So that's my great bugbear. With the tackle, do you know, another one of our phrases is that it's a high tariff yellow or an orange card. Ugh. I would probably be leaning towards a red.
Okay.
But again, it's one of those grey area ones, so I wouldn't have an argument. I wouldn't fight with anybody over their decision. But personally, I think it was probably a red card. But if VAR's involved and it's clear and obvious, you don't need that length of time.
Des, what about you?
Yeah, for me it's a red card. Yeah, and I seen it at that moment in time, which obviously Nick has seen at that moment in time. You go, okay, Don Robertson was VAR. I think on reflection, when you see it, the way he's caught him, where he's caught him, stud showing, I don't think it has the intensity that people look at. But I still think it's enough for a red card. So yeah, I'd be going red on that one.
And like at that point in the game, obviously it is a booking. Hatate comes off 5 minutes later. Like the game's probably gone at that point, but like is it more a case of like if that's maybe in the first half, does it change his perspective?
Because it never happened in the first half.
I know, but like that's the kind of way I kind of look at it, and I do wonder if it was earlier in the game, does that opinion change because the game's done?
That's a bit of a myth. See if I think it's a red card in the first minute or the last minute, it's still a red card. When I do talks or presentations, my record sending off was 45 seconds in a knocking leg coming up game, and it was the guy was unconscious before he hit the ground. That would have been the same outcome if it had been 2 minutes before half time.
Yeah, is that just a myth that people have just kind of gathered because that, and even like Rangers Hearts again, nothing really, probably quite dire to watch in all honesty. Probably the most entertaining thing from a referee's point of view was the end. Like, can anybody explain to me what he was blown for? Like, was that, why did it take him so long to blow for full time? Like, what was that?
One word answer: no.
No.
Don't know.
No idea.
I think it was Rory Hamilton. Now, again, I've got a lot of time for Rory, and I think he's one of the very few really good commentators in Scottish football. He said it's happened a few times this season. Is that why is that?
Don't know. There has been a couple where there seems to be a bit of an incident in inverted commas, but rather than deal with it, you just blow the whistle and finish it.
Did you think he was blowing for a free kick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
Yeah,
because it is a free kick. Because it's definitely a free kick.
Aye, and then he just went, right, game's up, done.
Aye, enough. Now we've all done, and Des and I have done that in the juniors and things coming through. But that's a way of getting out of a way of getting out of situations. But when you're in the safety of Ibrox, you don't need to be worrying about situations. I had no idea what happened there.
Des, is it fair to say that if Hearts were a bit more clinical, they'd have probably got something for that game?
They should have been. Yeah, absolutely. They tried to create enough chances, but it's just not happening for them. If you put Shankland last year into this year, then yeah, they probably
it's not been a good start for him at all, has it?
It's not happened for him whatsoever. It's quite surprising actually.
Yeah,
it's quite surprising how you can drop that. But I don't know. Maybe last year he was looking at potential transfers or whatever, and where he's going to go to, and it's obviously not happening. And Hearts didn't want him to leave. I don't know. I wouldn't question anyone's desire, but it's just not happening for him.
Hearts' next 3 fixtures are home to Celtic on the 23rd. Obviously, that's a quarter-day kick-off on Saturday. Then they head to Belgium to take on Cercle Bruges. Then it's home to Aberdeen. It's a big run of fixtures coming up. Like the international break couldn't have come at a better time just to get some kind of rest and get off this real kind of bad form they're in. They're obviously sitting second bottom, Hibs below them, but you look at like obviously Celtic and Aberdeen out and the Rangers are in third. Steve, what Rangers obviously performance again? You look at the difference from them on Thursday, where I thought they played really well and did deserve something out of the game, and today the performances could not have been more different. And there is this sort of Jekyll and Hyde thing with this Rangers side where they've got the ability to put in the performances, but at times they can look atrocious.
Yeah, and there's people far better qualified than me to come up with reasons, but it's unfathomable. No idea. Yeah, and I think Dessers is typical of that. He can be, I wouldn't say the exact phrase I was thinking of, but people know their mothers or their grandmother's sayings. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it really is unfathomable in the comparison between Europe and domestically.
Obviously, that means
motivation getting to Europe for some reason. That seems to be the high point for them. And again, not being going down a line of supporting a club, but I don't think Dessers is the issue. I think there's a lot of other issues rather than Cyril Dessers up front. I mean, the goal he scored on Thursday was absolutely fantastic. But I think there's a deeper root and branch issue up there.
Yeah, he's just symbolic of what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's a classic example that the money that's been spent on him, for example, you're expecting so much more. And Rangers spend 5 million on a striker, they need to be scoring 25, 30 a season, and he'll score you 15, 20, but he'll probably get like 85 chances. But that obviously kind of means that we are getting to the international break stage, and this is probably the last one until I think March. So it's never really people don't like them. I think at times it gives us a wee bit of kind of break and things like that, and just Scotland's probably next 2 games are probably quite meaningless in all honesty. But it gives us a wee time to kind of rest and recharge the batteries. Guys, what are we kind of thinking for after this? There's not really a lot going to... I hope there's not a lot of controversy coming out in the next couple of weeks. Are we expecting another, as you say, Wally Vision video to air at some point?
Oh, there will be. He says it's going to be monthly, so okay. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
We'll keep our eyes.
Bated breath.
Absolutely. But no, I can't thank you enough for having me, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. First of all, Steve, thank you very much.
A pleasure, Scott. Thank you for coming on.
Pleasure. And to Des, thank you very much, mate.
Not a problem, Scott. Thank you ever so
much.
And
for the next episode of Behind the Whistles, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.